Tony Hawk's Underground. In America, it came out on October 27th, 2003, but us UK losers got it sometime in November. Various sources give different dates, so I can't be certain. The point is, Underground is now 20 years old, so it's time I celebrate it with a long video review that comments on every nook and cranny and explains why this game is a masterpiece to me. I usually review movies more than games, so the fact that I've made a video this long based on a game is unusual for me, but it had to be done. Underground is a big part of my life, so I couldn't make this a short video. How could I? I'm squashing 2 decades of love into one video here. As a result, this video is gonna be beefy. So this will be split up into multiple chapters. This intro, why I love skateboarding despite not being a skater myself, my unpopular thoughts on the older Tony Hawk games, then a crazy in-depth review of Underground, and then by the end, I'll talk about Underground's goal creator and how it helped me discover my creative side. That chapter really won't be for everyone because it's quite dark and personal, but that's why I stuck it at the end. I didn't want to force it on you. It's up to you if you want to watch it. But before I get into those chapters, let me get these 2 things out of the way. 1. I usually make these videos using only my voice and these cartoon avatars to get my feelings across. But now, decided to video myself for once. I hardly ever do this, but figured this video gets quite personal at times, so may as well convey sincerity somehow, right? And 2, I never thought I'd ever say this, but please can you guys give me a like? I have worked my balls off on this video and I wanted to get some traction, okay? Yes, I have some other long videos on my YouTube channel, but most of them were in podcast form, so they really didn't require that much editing in order to get them out there. This video, it took me months, so please give me a like. Pretend I've got like an invisible puppy here. So let me quickly talk about the sport in general. You wouldn't think it to look at me, but I have never been sporty. I do have an interest in strength and combat sports, but that's mainly for the wisdom of the athletes rather than the sport itself. However, skateboarding is a sport that actually managed to grab me. I can't skate myself. I mean, I can't even stand on a skateboard when it's in motion, let alone doing the rest of it. And believe me, I have tried many times ever since childhood. I do remember one Christmas when I was about 8-9 years old, my nan bought me this awesome shark skateboard, this yellow thing with this skating shark on it. It was badass, and I just couldn't balance on that bloody thing, man. And every time I fell over, I'd look at the skateboard and there was this big smug shark with sunglasses smiling at me. Dickhead. So no, I can't skate myself, but that has never stopped me from being fascinated by the sport. Let me tell you the reasons why. Street skating. Look, skating in skate parks and vert skating with all of those skating competitions, they're all cool and are essential pieces of skating, but I'll be honest, if that's all skating was, I wouldn't be anywhere near as fascinated by it. Street skating is what appeals to me the most. As long as the skaters aren't being idiots, endangering citizens, and causing traffic accidents, I think street skating is the best aspect of skateboarding. The reason why will make it sound like I've just been possessed by a dead hippie, but I promise you I mean this with all sincerity. You remember when you were a child? Back when everything was new, jumping in puddles was fun, and the world around you was your playground? I remember that too. And I don't know about you guys, but I've noticed that when we all got older, little is new, jumping in puddles and getting your clothes wet is freaking annoying, and the world around us is so freaking boring, we need headphones on just to walk around it. I know I sound like a pseudo-preacher, but break it down, that is a problem. For a lot of us, the novelty just isn't there anymore. We're more focused on the destination rather than the actual trip. That's the problem. I've done this too and I'm working on it. This needs to be fixed. Like, it's crazy how we rely on self-destructive substances just to maintain being alive, you know what I mean? I put my balls in a blind woman's mouth and told her it was candy. But from my perspective, street skaters don't need to fix that it was talcum powder, man. Chill. From my perspective, street skaters don't need to fix this mindset, because they still have that childlike way of seeing the world around them as a playground. They see every nook and cranny as an opportunity for self-expression. Park benches, basic rails, handrails, stairs, basic concrete slopes. We're not enjoying these mundane details like these street skaters are. You think they're not appreciating the world around them? I don't see any headphones on their heads. They're not wasting their lives. For them, the trip is the destination. It's almost like they're dancers and they've turned these streets into a big stage, like ballet dancers with boards. I mean, look at Rodney Mullen, for example. You're gonna tell me he's not a dancer? I mean, look at this. Look. What? And look at Richie Jackson. Who even thinks of doing this, man? I tell you who. A talented SOB who looks at the world through a child's eyes. The fact that these street skaters haven't allowed adulthood to cross their childhood innocence is beautiful. No hyperbole there. I actually find street skating and a street skater's mentality beautiful. Okay, maybe I've looked too deep into this. At the end of the day, they're just people standing on planks of wood on wheels. But I promise you those are my genuine feelings. The other thing I appreciate about skateboarding is how ridiculously hard the basics are, let alone the rest of it. The simplest and most essential trick is the ollie, which is how you get the skateboard to jump with you. It's not like snowboarding where your feet are strapped to the board. You have to slam the back of your board into the floor and make it bounce with you. It's such a fundamental, ordinary technique in skating. But to me, it's like, how do you do that? And who the hell even thought of doing that in the first place? And yeah, that's the simplest trick. So imagine how impressed I am with the rest of skating. I simply don't get how these skaters do all of this. I mean, how do you ollie down a set of stairs and grind on the handrails? Handrails, used to make walking safer. And now some nutcase on a board is grinding down it. What the fuck? To me, these basic tricks are actual stunts. Hence why Jackass the movie had an entire bit dedicated to a basic 50-50 grind. These are stunts. As far as I'm concerned, if you can skate like this, you are performing actual stunts. And I know it's strange that I've called these skaters children, dancers, and stunt artists, but what can I say? That's what I love about this sport. It's all-encompassing. Skating is beautiful. Skating is difficult. Skating is painful. Skating is scary. But for many, it's also a way of life. And I commend that beyond words. Holy moly, I freaking adore the sport of skateboarding. And it just might be my favorite sport. In truth, it's a contest between skateboarding and parkour, aka freerunning. I love freerunning for the exact same reasons I love skateboarding, but this isn't the video for that. I love skateboarding, and that's all that matters right now. Sorry. But I didn't know how much I loved skateboarding until I saw the extra skating clips found on Tony Hawk's Underground when I was 12. Like so many out there, these Tony Hawk games were my introduction to the sport of skateboarding. Now, the trick system was far too over the top to simulate real-life skateboarding, but they still taught me and many others the basic fundamentals. And because I could never skate in real life, these games were the closest I could get to actually skating. So let's finally talk about them. Now, this chapter won't be particularly popular, but I'm not criticizing these groundbreaking games, I'm just sharing my own experiences with them. That's all. Now, as a child, I dabbled in the original Tony Hawk's Pro Skater on PS1, and it was okay. I know it's a classic game, but I just found it too slow and clunky. I didn't get the chance to play Pro Skater 2, but I did spend a lot of time with Pro Skater 3, and this is where I piss off a lot of people. It was Halloween 2002, the day after my 11th birthday. 2 late birthday presents arrived for me in the mail from my father. Gauntlet Dark Legacy and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. By this point, Pro Skater 4 had just come out, but I guess my father got me Pro Skater 3 because it was older, therefore cheaper. Ready for it? He was a cheapskate. Shut up. Shut your goddamn mouth. It's too late now. I said it. So I popped in Pro Skater 3, and sadly, I didn't get the same amazing experience most other gamers did. For many, Pro Skater 3 is a genuine classic. It improved the physics, it had online play, and it added the revert trick so you could continue your combo after landing in a half pipe. But I didn't play Pro Skater 2, nor did I play much of 1. So I didn't have that frame of reference. Plus I wasn't tech savvy, so I couldn't figure out how to play online. I couldn't appreciate Pro Skater 3 on these levels. But even if I could, this game was still too hard for a young Padawan like moi. And it wasn't difficult because it was replicating the struggles of learning to skate in real life. Absolutely not. To me, this was just bloody annoying. I naturally began playing as Tony Hawk. I mean, he was the only skater I knew of. And because his ollie stats began low, simply doing an ollie and kickflip was either hit or miss. I know you're supposed to upgrade his stats, but I didn't know that at the time. I didn't even know what an ollie was, so how could I know that I was meant to upgrade that? But even when I did figure that out, it didn't change much because steering and airing just felt clunky and unresponsive. Not just as a beginner, even now as a Tony Hawk veteran, this shit feels off to me. And the career mode, yikes. Each level only gives you 2 minutes to complete a series of tasks. Being rushed when I didn't know what I was doing wasn't fun. It wasn't welcoming for newcomers. I didn't feel in control, I was constantly bailing, and the goals made little sense to me. And considering that you can't change the difficulty, I was screwed. So considering that I was lucky enough to have a load of other birthday presents to play, including the Max Payne, plus I would soon be getting the iconic GTA Vice City, why the fuck would I want to continue pissing myself off with Pro Skater 3? So I stopped, and only returned when I didn't feel like playing anything else. And every time I returned, there were no welcoming parties. Each return was an exercise in frustration. Like the Los Angeles level. It's an incredible level, but I didn't see it that way at first because of the earthquake goal. You create an earthquake by grinding on some random rails and boom, mission accomplished. But it took me ages to figure that out. How was I meant to figure that out? How does this create an earthquake? Anywho, now that you've created the earthquake, you can now accomplish 2 other goals. Block the car chase. Look up and you can see a car balancing precariously on the destroyed freeway.
Get me out of here! Hey, up here, please!
Instead of helping the poor guy, you just go up there, grind his car, and send him to his death, I'm assuming, considering that he doesn't say anything once you knock him down. And now you've stopped the chase. Oh, and now that you're up here, you can finally get the secret tape. Wow, what a headfuck. I was like, this is why I don't play this game that much. But after learning the ins and outs of this map, I did fall in love with it, and it's still a joy to return to. Skating around Los Angeles was already fun, but then you can actually create an earthquake and change a big part of the map? That's very unique, and seeing the map fall apart like that was awesome. I still love this map, and I was so happy when Underground 2 gave you the option to play this map again, but with better handling and the ability to walk and climb. I also enjoyed using cheat codes to unlock some cool secret skaters, and I especially liked how the skate shop owner in the background of the main menu reacted to them. Darth Maul, Force Choke, Demoness, ouch.
That's right, I'm shaking it. Who wants to watch it? Shake it. Don't break it. Yeah! Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Uh-huh. Said do it. Who's smoking? I'm smoking.
And that's something else I dug about this game. It had a great sense of humor with the NPCs. On the cruise ship, you have that funny captain making announcements.
Right there, yeah, right. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Captain, look. Is that mic light supposed to be on?
Huh? Oh, what? Hey.
In Los Angeles, you have those two dudes arguing.
Left hand.
Right hand.
Left hand.
Pepper.
Salt.
Pepper.
Salt.
Pepper.
Yeah, front.
Back.
Front.
Back.
My dad.
Your dad.
My dad.
Your dad.
My dad. What are you,
Your
stupid?
dad.
It's like the timer is running out, and yet I still can't help but listen to them. And I always dug the tall, thin man in the suburb level. He wants an axe to get into this big, creepy place, so you find one and give it to him.
Home improvement time.
The odd atmosphere of it all was so random, but it stands out so much in my memories. But my favorite NPC is this guy standing on the ledge in the Canada level. If you've played this game, you already know where I'm going with this. I was skating around here, and I heard some odd noises, so I went to see what was up.
It's getting cold out here. Oh man, this must be a record. Ugh. Oh. Look, it freezes before it hits the lake.
So those are my experiences with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. Please understand I do not hate this game, it's just that it was way too hard for me as a newcomer to get into it. But even when my skills improved, the physics still felt clunky. When I eventually found out just how praised this game was, I was absolutely stunned and have never agreed. But I do still like it to an extent, and agree with plenty of its praises. The trick system was nice and varied, the tricks were linked together in this new, unique way, and the soundtrack was fantastic, as it usually always is with these games. Not the Same by Body Jar is my absolute favourite, I still listen to it today. Plus, a lot of these levels were awesome, man. I can't wait for them to remake this game so I can experience all these levels again, but with better handling. I may not see it as a masterpiece, but regardless of my thoughts, Pro Skater 3 is a genuine classic, and it's earned that status. Now I want to very quickly talk about Pro Skater 4. Considering my experiences with 3, naturally I had no interest in playing 4 back in the day, but I only just recently dabbled in it just to educate myself, and I freaking adored what I played. It's outstanding. It implemented the features that I thought Underground did, holding onto the back of vehicles, aka skitching, being able to change between grind tricks whilst grinding, the same goes for manuals and lip tricks. And in the career mode there's no time limit, there are quest givers who give you actual missions.
Try talking to some of the guys with the arrows over their heads.
I thought Underground was the one that started all of that shit, man. Plus, the latest Tony Hawk game, which came out in 2020, plays almost identically to 4. The buttons still do the exact same thing. It's incredible that such an old game mastered separating these tricks across a gamepad so well, to the point where it still feels fluid and fun 21 years later. Like the differences between 3 and 4 are night and day. I seriously have to get around to playing this one day because I'm freaking loving it so far. My gosh, I missed out on Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4. Hey father, if you're watching this, you do realize now that you could have gotten me Pro Skater 4 for my 11th birthday, right? But no, you had to get me Gauntlet Dark Legacy and Pro Skater 3. These are the complications you bring to the table, old boy. I tell you one thing, if you didn't pass your Big Willie genetics down to me, I'd be livid at you right now. Lucky you've had some use to me, man. Hung like a mouse. Shut up. So now let's finally talk about
the big one.
Tony Hawk's Underground, aka Thug. And I can still remember it. I was almost 12 years old, and my best friend Jake told me about this new Tony Hawk game that was coming out soon. You can get off your board and run around. And I guess it was because I was still occasionally torturing myself with Pro Skater 3 that I just didn't like the idea and I kind of mocked it. But then I saw this quick little advert on TV.
Then I'm throwing dice in the alley. Officer Leroy comes up and he's like, "Hey, I thought I told you." And I'm like, "Yeah, what up?"
I was blown away. This looked way more fun than any other Tony Hawk game. It had vehicles, variety, excitement, and it seemed to have an actual narrative. It got me gassed. Now, I was slightly misled by it. This part where your character bells, breaks his board in half and kicks one of the pieces away, I actually thought that you could destroy your board and had to find a way of getting a new one. And also, the song that plays in this advert is called United States or whatever. The advert mixed the Officer Leroy line with the police cutscene.
Officer Leroy comes up and he's like, hey, I thought I told you. And I'm like, yeah, what up?
It made me think that you could also get arrested if you skate in illegal areas. These ideas sounded so immersive and had me juiced, but of course, I was wrong. Break your board, another board just spawns in, and the police scene is just a cutscene in the game. Still, I don't care. To quote the song,
Whatever.
so the game finally came out, and I can still remember going to the game store and picking up the case for the first time. The back of it set my imagination on fire. You own the underground. This time, it's your journey. Break the rules, beat the odds, become a star. Thug stars you as a skate punk out to make it big. Do whatever it takes. Run, climb, and of course skate to make it to the top. Put your face in the game to skate as you. Which I never learned how to do, by the way, but the fact that that was even an option just blew my mind. That was crazy to me at the time. Anyway, tear it up in cars and other rides. Go from local unknown to superstar skater. Design your own tricks, decks, goals, and levels. It's your game. It's your game. Man, I love that line. Now, because I was such a creative kid, all of these creator options just got me so juiced. But sadly, I didn't have any money at the time, so I had to put this game back on the shelf. One of the hardest things I ever had to do as a child. But you bet your ass I spent weeks obsessing over this, and eventually, just a few weeks later, I managed to get it, and it surpassed almost every expectation I had. Let's finally talk about this masterpiece. The usual career mode has now been replaced with a story mode. The game opens with you working on your messed up skateboard, and best friend Judas, Eric Sparrow, informs you that pro skater Chad Muska is coming to your neighborhood.
Muska is actually coming to this dump for a skate demo.
Then you get to create your character, and the character creator here is just awesome, man. You can look realistic, but you can also make yourself look like the Hulk. You can wear a bag on your head and look like the chainsaw guy from Resident Evil 4. Heck, you can just remove your entire head and just have some floating eyes. It's quite amusing watching your cartoony character moving around in these serious cutscenes. But my favorite thing about this creator mode is what happens when you change genders. Not only does your voice change,
Tell it to your posse. We're through.
Tell it to your posse. We're through.
but the dialogue slightly changes based on what gender you pick.
I knew he was up to something stupid. I knew she was up to something stupid. Mr. Pure. Miss Pure.
Pretty rad for the time. But I remember the first time I loaded this up. My character's default appearance looked good enough to me already, so I didn't change a thing about him. And this look is called Steve. There are a load of pre-made options in the creator mode, and this is one of them. Steve. And because I soon grew ridiculously attached to this game, Steve's look has since become synonymous with Tony Hawk's Underground to me. I'm serious, every time I think of this game, I think of this character and his look. He's kind of like the CJ to my San Andreas, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter how much you can change CJ's appearance. Every time you think of CJ, you think of the white vest, blue jeans, and black shoes, right? Well, that's how it works for me and Steve. So as a result, even on my latest playthrough, I still chose this look and didn't change anything about him except for his name. I chose one that spoke the objective truth about me, Badger Phipps. So anyhow, you're a young skater living in the fictional ghetto of New Jersey. The hood is dirty, surrounded by nuclear power plants and sketchy drug dealers living right across the road from you. But you and your best friend Eric Sparrow have a true passion for skating. You're both hungry for more, so you embark on a journey to escape the area and become pro skaters. Two friends escaping the slums and making something out of their passion. So simple, but effective. It's nothing too layered and the cutscenes are never longer than a minute. But it worked. Finally having a skateboarding game with an actual story that was semi-relatable connected me to the world so much more than ever before. In just the opening chapters, I was already hooked. And it was about to get better. Your first mission introduces you to the biggest feature, finally getting off your board. Apparently, whilst your character was in the house changing their clothes, skin color, and gender, Eric was attacked by the drug dealers across the road.
I was just skating, minding my own, and the dealers grabbed my board. They tore it apart and they threw the pieces up on the roof. My knee's wrecked. Could you grab them for me?
You learn that you can jump stupidly high, you can do a weird double jump whenever you're by a wall, you can grab ledges, climb up and get the pieces. This footage here kinda makes it look clunky, but it really is easy getting this shit done. Feels good. Now you can't just drop your board whenever you want, this only happens during specific missions. But that's fine, there's pretty much zero benefit to having your board removed, and the few missions that do this all function as meh platformers, so who cares? Either way, you get the pieces for Eric, and then you're taught how to get on and off your board at any time. Now, you can easily get to higher ground by climbing ladders and ledges. Stairs are no longer your enemy. You don't have to work out some convoluted way of getting up them, you can now just walk up them. And it was just awesome at the time, man. I was no longer an avatar stuck to a skateboard. I felt like I was connected to the world and could function in it. It was so cool how you could skate in an alley, stop, climb up a ladder, and find this rooftop full of skatable shit. This was deep at the time. And it's not just stairs and ladders. The other way to get to higher ground is to wall ride, ollie out of it, then get off your board mid-air, do that double jump against the wall, grab onto the ledge, and pull yourself up. It's so intuitive and it feels great, there's just no stopping you. But it was more than just a cool tool to get around, it could be incorporated into your combos. If you do some tricks and then get off your board, this clock counts down until your combo ends. Even better, if you're running during the countdown, your character sprints so you can get to your next trickable area quicker. Plus, if you climb ladders or hang from ledges, the countdown slows down considerably to give you a chance. Now that was rad. Look, being able to walk wasn't exactly a layered feature, but it didn't need to be. Finally being able to simply walk breathed some much needed life into these Tony Hawk games, and for me, it's the biggest new feature of this game. Every time I think of Tony Hawk's Underground, my head goes, oh, that was the Tony Hawk game where you could finally start walking. That's how big the feature was to me, and still is. So, you're then free to skate around this ghetto in New Jersey. It's filled with some rough-looking NPCs, gas leaking out of these pipes that ignite whenever you grind on them, and it all looks so filthy. But man, I adore this level. It's not much to look at, but it's so fun to skate around here. The lines are all varied, and it has a unique filthy character that none of the other levels have. And you have a load of quest givers here, who never play a big role in the rest of the story, but they just give the environment some much needed character, and they teach you how to do some basic tricks. For example, your next door neighbor wants you to walk his dog.
I'll give you $5 to run him around the block a couple of times for me.
This teaches you how to skitch, aka hold onto the back of cars. You then learn other mechanics like spine transfers, and being able to switch tricks mid-grind, manual, or lip trick, making it so much easier and more fun to rack up points. Thanks to these missions and the constant dialogue, I was finally learning all these tricks in skating vernacular. Like getting off your board, jumping in mid-air and landing on the board, that's a caveman. When you jump with your skateboard, it's not called a jump, it's an ollie. And if you can't get high enough with an ollie, you do a boneless. It helps you get over those pesky obstacles easier. What is a line? Well, it's a series of tricks when traveling around, all done consecutively. It's even harder when you try and do it all in one combo. That's a line. And when someone falls over or fails at a trick, that's not simply called failing, that's called bailing.
Oh, damn my knee!
I was learning the ins and outs of the tricks, the slang, the culture, and it was all so freaking fun. And with the improved physics, the whole thing was so much better than Pro Skater 3. I was finally seeing what the rest of the fan base was seeing with these games. But there was this one thing that didn't impress me. The vehicles. Look, we all knew this was coming, okay? Everyone else rips on this part of the game, so I have to as well. Each level has its own unique vehicle that you can drive, and some missions force you to drive them. Some are heavier and slower than others, but overall they pretty much feel the same. They all suck. Oh, the magic of advertising. This is nowhere near as badass as that advert made it look. The turning and braking feels unresponsive, and it's all clunky and floaty. Anything you drive into, even a fence, makes you bounce away like a beach ball. You can't damage the environment nor your car, and your vehicle doesn't even cast a shadow. I just don't feel attached to the world, I'm just flopping about. And there's really nothing to do once you enter a vehicle. The maps are made for skating, not vehicles, so it's so boring driving around. I appreciate how Neversoft tried to make driving easier by removing all traffic and altering the map slightly, but still, there's just no point in driving around. Now, some have said, why are there vehicles in a skateboarding game? But I kinda get it. The concept of using different modes of transport isn't a bad one. Plus it adds to the whole Jackass vibe of the game. To me, Tony Hawk's Underground feels a bit like Jackass. You know, the idea of touring around and causing mayhem wherever you go. In fact, Tony Hawk's Underground 2 would capitalize on that. So the idea of playing as Bam Margera in a leaf blower and fucking shit up makes sense to me, and it sounds fun. But it isn't. This is horrible. Why did Neversoft do this? But on a more positive note, if you truly despise these vehicles, you can avoid most of the vehicle missions. And the ones you can't? Well, at least they're not that hard and don't last longer than a few minutes. You can probably go through the whole campaign, only driving for about 4 to 6 minutes, so there's that. So after a load of missions, Chad Muska performs a skate demo in your neighborhood. He inspires you and Eric with his lavish, superfluous lifestyle, but personally, I think he looks like a bit of a cliched rich dick here. So, the mission is to impress Chad Muska with your skills. Get a high score in front of him.
Hey, what's up, man? That was a sick line you had back there.
He then gives you some simple but important advice. Get sponsored by your local skate shop and make connections.
So why don't you head down to your shop, check out their riders, and try to get hooked up. And yo, Merry Christmas.
Thanks.
Okay, maybe he's not a dick. Now there are some small details here that I love. Your character gets starstruck.
Whoa, Chad Muska? I'm a huge fan.
Not just with Chad Muska, but with Mike Vallely as well. He's just skating in the area and you're stoked to meet him.
Whoa, Mike V. I knew you were a Jersey local, but...
These pro skaters aren't just avatars that you play as. In this story, you see them as heroes from an up-and-comer's perspective. But as the story progresses and you up your status, you get more used to meeting the pros, and you talk to them like it's no biggie.
Hey, Bob. What are you doing?
I know it's kind of obvious, but I love it. Not just that though, I thought that your overly beat-up skateboard was only scratched to show you how poor you are. But after I got Muska's board, I noticed that it also gets scratched up the more you use it. All of your boards do this, and I don't know if this was carried over from Pro Skater 4, but either way, I love that attention to detail. But if you hate having a beat up board, just load into another level and the board will repair itself. Nice. So the story continues. You take Muska's advice and get signed to your local skate shop, owned by Stacy Peralta.
Wait, are you the Stacy Peralta?
That's me.
You then have to leave New Jersey, and how and why are equally insane. It all starts with this stealth mission. The local drug dealers steal some skateboards from Peralta's shop.
The dealers took off with some gear from the shop. I'm trying to figure out how to get it back.
It's my neighborhood. I'll do it.
Wait, kid! It's too dangerous!
Now sure, this mission is silly, but I am seriously nostalgic about it. It's actually one of the most memorable parts of the game for me. You have to sneak past these nutcases to get those boards, but it's unclear how. And because your skateboard is removed, you can't stunt your way over there. You have to walk, climb, and explore to find a pathway. Dun 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 dun, ba-da-bum bum 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 bum, solid skate. But this is why this ridiculous mission is so nostalgic to me. Not only was it hard as fuck on my first playthrough, but it was actually creepy. Daylight turns to night, it starts raining, and the fun, energetic soundtrack is replaced by this dark, creepy song. Just listen to this. That's the type of music you'd hear in your head if you were using a public bathroom and you met a pervert in there. Like, fellas, just imagine this. You're using the urinal, taking a leak, and then you look to your left and you just see a guy stood there next to you like this. The creepy music and aesthetics made me take this shit so seriously. New Jersey suddenly felt different. Imagine me coming from Pro Skater 3 to this, being nervous and worried about antagonists. I wasn't expecting this. 12-year-old me viewed this as an iconic mission, so much so that I still kinda hold it near to my heart, but replaying it now, taking off the nostalgia goggles, I see it for what it really is. It's a stealth mission in a skateboarding game. It's as shallow and out of place as you think. The drug dealers don't have any AI that you have to outthink. They never react to you if you get spotted. No one chases you if they see you. You just get this little warning here.
They spotted you, run for it.
Once you retreat.
Oh, that was close, motherfucker.
So it's not really a stealth mission. It's more like a game of the floor is lava, only with a fancy coating, and the lava is mostly placed on this one street. It's such an odd, out-of-place little mission, but simply due to nostalgia, I still love it, warts and all. So, this stealth mission sets up a chain reaction in the plot. Once you reach the boards, Eric is already over here. Yeah, cheers for getting the boards, Eric. And then he goes nuts and sets fire to the dealers. Pretty sweet ride considering the rough area. Jesus, maybe it's not such a bad lifestyle after all. And this is the first sign that Eric isn't wrapped so tight. Next thing you know...
Those gangsters know it was me. When I got back to my house last night, they were parked outside waiting for me. You've gotta help me get to the train station across the river.
But the dealers don't chase you during gameplay. They pose no threat to you, and they haven't thought to call the fire brigade and save what's left of their car. It's just odd. So you go across the bridge to get to the train station, but for whatever reason, the police won't let you pass.
Jumping the bridge is the only way to get past the cops.
Because every time you try to walk or drive your way out of New Jersey, this invisible wall keeps sending you back. I hate it when that happens in real life. So how do you get past the police? By sketching the back of a car and launching over the police like Steve McQueen in The Great Escape. That's how.
Damn street racing punks are up to something again. Let's get them.
And now another part of New Jersey has been unlocked, and it's so cool having this extra space to bust out some lines. What a playground this is, man. But there's yet another obstruction. This security guard who won't let you enter the train station.
No skater punks allowed in the station.
What's your problem, Bacon Bits? Wake up on the wrong side of your mother this morning?
Why, you little...
So now you have to grind in circles to make the security guard dizzy. What a sight. I mean, look at this. And of course, every time you bell, he's so sweet that he stops chasing you just to give you time to start grinding again. I'm starting to understand why Neversoft didn't program the dealers to chase you during gameplay. Can you imagine an entire mob chasing you like this? Pork. I love this corny shit, man. It's mad fun. But then, as if all of this wasn't goofy enough, Eric gets kidnapped.
They took Eric, the dealers.
You now have to follow the car, then get into this nitro car and chase them. It leads to this epic crash in the train station. Everyone brushes it off like it's an everyday thing. You're not in trouble with the law, and Eric doesn't suffer any type of PTSD. No one mentions it ever again. And off you go to Manhattan to stay with Eric's cousin. Wow. Now look, I'm only being half serious here. I don't actually expect this old skateboarding game to actually tackle the subjects of drug dealers and getting kidnapped and all that in a very serious manner. I'm just saying that you and Eric wanting to escape poverty and seek a career in skateboarding was already a good enough reason for you guys to leave New Jersey. But Neversoft decided to complicate that simplicity by adding this stealth mission, which then sets up an antagonist who poses no threat to you, so you can then escape New Jersey, launching over the bridge. It's just crazy to me. Sure, the rest of the plot is full of these inconsistencies, but none amount to a chunk this big. It's such a waste of time, and I'm surprised this passed so many yes men and women at Neversoft. Like, it must have took them ages to make up all of this extra shit. But at least none of this chunk is boring. I do have a laugh with this. I mean, look at this shit.
Wee, motherfucker.
So, Manhattan. I'm not talking about this map for long because there's not much story here, and most of the missions are straightforward. But make no mistake, this is my favorite level in the whole game. It's vast, varied, and it's such a contrast coming from the cramped streets of New Jersey to the wide open streets of Manhattan. I love skating around here, man. As much as I love skating in New Jersey, I really do feel like I've escaped and I'm now able to finally stretch my legs here. Every nook and cranny is just packed full of skatable shit, and I make damn good use of all of it. I start a line, I never know where I'm gonna end up. Almost everywhere you turn there's a small skating area, and each one feels different, but not so different that they don't feel like they belong in the same map. Neversoft clearly wanted to make an impression here, and boy did they. You also learn how to use the create a trick mode on this map, and truthfully, I never used it that much. You just combine a load of pre-existing trick animations together and add some spins and flips. I get how anyone could like it, but it's just not for me. But what does impress me are the changes in weather. At certain points in the story, daylight turns to night and it starts raining. Here in Manhattan, it just looks awesome. You sadly have no control over the weather or time of day in free skate mode. It's only if you play certain missions in the story mode. That's a big shame, but I do appreciate how Neversoft went the extra mile to do this. It looks great, and it shows that time is passing for your character, and you're really on a journey here. But the weather leads me to talk about this quick little thing. It's tragic, but I'm kind of getting nostalgic here, remembering how my 12-year-old brain used to work. Get ready, this is going to be some sad shit. Back then, when I saw Manhattan get dark and my character covered in rain, I felt cold looking at him. He needed a hoodie, so I thought, okay, I'll put a hoodie on him. I paused the game, went into the character customizer, put the hoodie on him, and went back to the game. That got rid of the rain. That was a waste of time. Damn. And I couldn't really make the rain come back, so whatever, I just continued playing. But there was something about that really annoyed me. I actually wanted to skate around in the rain, but with my hood up. I have no idea why, but that had to happen, so on my next playthrough, I planned ahead and wore the hoodie before the weather changed, and boom, problem solved. Now I get to skate around in the rain with my hood up. And even now, as a near 32-year-old man, I still remember that, and I still plan ahead for the rain. You bet your ass I still get that hoodie up, ready for it. Moving on. So off you go to Tampa for a big amateur contest, Tampa Am, and it's pretty fun skating around Tampa. It's big, sunny and varied. A skate park,
A small bayou with a gator.
A strip club you can skate in, and behind the strip club you'll find the classic goat Easter egg featured in plenty of Tony Hawk games. Plus the Tampa skate park in the middle. It's so fun round here. So you finally make it to Tampa but Eric flexes his Judas muscles.
Whoa, easy there, Chief. The list's all checked off.
What? You signed us both up, right?
Well, I mean, I sent mine for him in,
But it's all good. Tony Hawk appears, and just like Chad Muska, you impress the hell out of him.
Whoa, not bad.
That's some really dope motion capture there, man. Just the way you slam the board into the ground like that with those cool sound effects, like, oh. That is some impressive shit, man. The Birdman manages to pull some strings and in you go. Now I remember, I was still learning how to actually get good at this game, so impressing Tony Hawk and winning the contest really did test my skills at 12. Like even now, I put it on sick difficulty on my latest playthrough, and boy, my fingers were worked, man. I'm glad Neversoft made these big moments genuinely challenging. So, you win, and everyone but Eric celebrates you. I love this too. I only just noticed it recently. You leave the door guy hanging because he wouldn't let you in earlier. Suddenly, all these famous pro skaters want you on their team.
Would everybody just shut up for 5 seconds and let me talk to the damn kid? I gotta give it to you, that run was bullshit. No, in a good way though. I'm gonna have to put you on Element, bottom line.
So now you get to pick one of 5 teams to join. Picking one over the other doesn't make much of a difference. The same pros are always on your team, and the story doesn't change at all. Which actually really pissed me off on my second playthrough when I picked a different team. I actually thought my choices would make a big difference, but there we go. Still, there are some very nice cosmetic changes. You get to pick some decks specific to your team, you automatically wear your team's shirt, and your team's logo appears in the upper left corner of the screen. Even the color of your balance meter and dialogue boxes change to suit the team you pick. For example, I chose girl on my first playthrough, so it all turned green. Even the main menu changes. Now, by this point, I have tried all the other teams, but I still prefer picking girl because that green shirt with the brown trousers. So you pick your team and join as an amateur. You then go to San Diego, and sadly I don't have much to say about this level. If it's one of your favorites, I'm not trying to take that away from you, but for me it's just uninspired. It's big, sunny and pleasant looking, but it just doesn't have any character. There aren't any interesting lines for me, not much variety, it's just skateable. And apart from the mission where you drive a flower cart. Yikes. Most of the missions do make sense for the story. Getting skate footage for your team, you know, it's simple, straightforward, and decent fun.
Yo, let's get some photos for your first magazine ad.
You nail this run, your picture will be in a magazine ad for sure.
There isn't much story here. Eric Sparrow ends up joining your team at some point, so your rivalry can continue. That's it. And off. Bye, San Diego. But then your team goes on a little trip to Hawaii. Your team wants to show some sick skating footage for a premiere at Slam City Jam. So now you gotta explore around Hawaii and shoot some footage. And Hawaii is my favorite level after Manhattan. Aside from the fact that it looks so colorful and inviting, I mean it is Hawaii, it's just fun to explore. It's not the biggest of maps, but you can pull off these nice lines around the beach, the streets, rooftop to rooftop, skate parks, and even a drained canal hidden at the back of the map where you can skate the back of these houses. There's also the Tiki Head. It actually took me years to discover this. You see this unassuming massive tiki head? Well, jump into its mouth. And it's just a sight to see, man. Hawaii is just full of character, man. It's so freaking fun. And when you reflect on New Jersey, it's even better. Man, how far we've come. So then this cutscene begins.
What you got going?
I Some secret spot I just found. It's pretty gnarly. I'm gonna shoot it later today.
That's cool. Give me a ring if you need help shooting it. It'd be like old days.
See that? Did you see that? Subtle. Now I'm just gonna take a shot in the dark here. Eric might be on some more Judas vibes. But we'll see. Some missions later, you climb up to this rooftop and you invite Eric along so he can film you pulling off some dope tricks and stunts.
You miss your ollie, we'll be sending you back to Jersey in a coffee can.
Todd said he wanted something big. This is it.
And this part, right here, is an iconic moment for us Thug fans. Every fan remembers this part of the story. The jump to the pink hotel over the helicopter. The police are called because you're skating in an illegal area.
It's the cops. We gotta split.
Why would they send a helicopter just for 2 skaters? And why does this helicopter never go high enough to get to you? Well, because how else will you be able to stunt over it?
And I'm gonna pull a McTwist on the way over. Just keep the camera steady.
That's right. Now this bit right here freaking kicks ass. Every time you jump over this thing, everything goes into slow-mo and accentuates the badassery of it all. And because this is the only way to add slow-mo to the game, I always found myself purposely doing the wrong trick just to see it all in slow-mo. My personal favorite is the jackass, because what other trick fits this scene? And chomp on this is pretty cool too, because where else can you see someone eating a slice of pizza on a skateboard airing over a helicopter? So you do the McTwist over the helicopter and get your footage for Slam City Jam. Holy heck.
I can't believe I did that. That's the best thing I ever filmed.
It's the best thing anybody ever filmed.
We then go to Vancouver, and this might be my least favorite map in the game. There's nowhere really interesting to skate, the lines aren't that varied or fun, and the color scheme is mostly just grey with some green grass here and there. It just has no character. Apart from the hockey pitch, where you can score goals for whatever reason, and the hotel, which has some secret rooms on the upper levels, it all just blurs into one. I never managed to memorize this map, and that's saying something considering how much time I've spent here. Some of the missions are okay, but nothing really stands out to me. It is what it is. Moving on. You then make it the Slam City Jam. It may not be a big level, but it is based on a real-life skating event, Slam City Jam, so if they made this level roughly the same size as the real place, it makes sense. Plus, it's the only map in the whole game that feels realistic when skate ramps and rails are scattered everywhere. This is an event made for skating, so it's fun tearing this shit up. It feels very realistic. So the video premiere begins, and you think the footage of your McTwist over the helicopter will be shown, but...
Did I miss my part?
You weren't even in it, but Eric's part ruled. Roof to roof in Hawaii, 40 stories up.
That was my trick in my spot.
Eric screwed you over. I guess Eric recreated your stunt without the chopper. I don't know. Either way, he's made pro.
You poached my shots. Where's my footage?
Now listen, I got 3 parties to hit, but you better go rest up for the amateur contest tomorrow.
But you ain't gonna take that. It's time to get what's yours.
You're a pro? They entered you as an amateur.
Someone made a mistake.
Fuck yeah, man.
I should have known it'd be down to you and me. You were always biting my style.
Going head to head with Eric is so cathartic, man. You faced him earlier, but now that he screwed you over so badly... Taste my high scores dick, Mr. Sparrow. So you win and make yourself pro.
You guys are taking me pro?
You just won a pro contest. You are a pro.
You can now create your own pro deck, and it's okay. It's just a load of pre-made textures that you combine to make something different. I liked making faces by combining eyes and noses and shit, but whatever. So now that you've accomplished all of your goals, the game really could have ended here.
You are a pro!
But it keeps on going, and I'm thankful for it. I'll elaborate on this later. You go to Moscow for a demo. Seeing how Neversoft twisted St. Basil's Cathedral into something skateable is all sorts of fun, man. Moscow's lines are all great and varied, and it has this wonderful, unique character. And the quest givers accentuate that. They have these awful, stereotypical Russian accents, and you're not fooling me, they're clearly voiced by Americans.
Someday I do favor for you, da?
400 rubles say you cannot caveman grind our tanks.
But I freaking love it. This is one of the better maps for me. I also want to quickly talk about this snowman. I only discovered it recently. I knew you could knock it over and destroy it, but I didn't know that you could decapitate it with the flip trick. And that counts as a gap.
Fatality.
Damn, this is awesome. I can't believe I'm discovering this 20 years later. So, in this cutscene, we discover that Bam Margera's immature, destructive mind has an obsession with tanks.
Damn, look at these tanks.
And it can't be for a healthy reason. Eric comes along and gives you this lame apology for his actions.
I acted like a dork, I'm sorry, I got carried away.
And you're such an overly forgiving softie that you forgive him. You don't ask for your helicopter footage back, you just trust him.
Oh, we do have a lot to learn, don't we, like? Oh.
You start skating with Eric again in some missions, and it seems to be going well. But then it happens. A drunken Eric steals a tank.
Dude, stop it!
When I saw him steal the guard's keys, I knew he was up to something stupid. I tried to stop him, but he wouldn't listen.
Eric screws you over again. Who saw that coming? M. Night Shyamalan? Eat your heart out, sir. Forget Split. This is how you do a twist. I'm sorry, I'll stop. I do love this game, honestly, I do.
The kid's off the team.
You're kicked off the team, and I like how your team's color scheme leaves your dialogue boxes and balance meters. Nice detail there. You're left stranded in Moscow, so how do you get back? By doing a load of favors for stereotypical Russian gangsters, of course.
Hello, American. We hear you need to get out of Russia. We can help. But first, we must make sure you are not followed.
It's all so silly and ridiculous, but apart from the stealth mission, which gives you these awful night vision goggles, most of these missions are entertaining and brimming with character. You help these gangsters out and they send you back home.
You are going home, but you are welcome back here anytime.
God bless the criminal underworld. So now, we're in Thug's final chapters. You return to New Jersey, and I could spend a while poking fun at the plot's inconsistencies, like how the drug dealers aren't a problem anymore and no one remembers the car crash at the train station, blah blah blah, but I don't want to. Not just because the joke is over now, but also because the plot around here actually turns into something kind of deep and thought-provoking. It's not about clearing your name so you can return to the team that abandoned you. It's about maintaining integrity. Remember when Chad Muska came to your neighborhood at the start? Eric only saw the wealth. He disregarded Muska's talent and saw it as just popping down a few rails.
I mean, what's he done? Popped down a few rails and he's traveling the world, living like a king.
But you mainly saw Muska as a skater and connected with him on a skateboarding level. You respected him. The contrast between you and Eric was obvious since the start, yet just subtle enough for you to miss. But now that you've returned to Jersey, that contrast is as subtle as a bomb.
I need 5 in my hand or I won't skate. I don't care how many kids are waiting. I got it all. My own company, 6 cars in my garage, a record deal in the works, and what do you got, huh?
You go ahead, keep telling yourself you're happy, but it ain't about the money.
Eric represents greed and fakeness, but you represent skateboarding. You're still a pure soul. But after Eric, skateboarding now feels like an empty shell to you.
I can't believe kids will look at Eric and think that's what skating is about. Man, I just want to skate like the old days. It used to relax me, not stress me out.
That's your deal, man. Skating is whatever you make it. It didn't change. You're the one that changed. Now go skate. you'll remember why you started in the first place.
Now, you can go ahead and see that as just another cutscene and then go ahead and beat some more missions. But I was actually moved by those words. Not just back then, but even today. It didn't change. You're the one that changed. Now go skate. You remember why you started in the first place. As a 12-year-old, those simple words challenged my perspective on all of this gameplay. It was no longer about big combos, crazy stunts, and making security guards dizzy. It was just about skating for the sake of skating. It went from being loud and aggressive to soft and quiet, grounded. 12-year-old me liked that, but now, 20 years on, I'm still moved by those words as a creator. You see, I know what it's like to be obsessively passionate about something and to pursue a career in it. Be it the music I used to make, my current voice acting, these YouTube videos, or my aspirations in filmmaking, I understand it, and something horrible has always challenged my desire to continue. That happens every time someone chases a dream. It's never just a smooth breeze, you know what I mean? So Eric Sparrow isn't just another dick. He represents those complications. And I know he isn't one of the great layered villains out there, but he does happen. And if you chase a dream for long enough, he will happen. So when Peralta tells you to get rid of any outside interference, take responsibility for your perception, and do your passion just for the sake of doing it, I understand it. Sometimes you just gotta take a break and strip it all down to its bare bones. Only then will you remember why you began in the first place. And again, I know Eric isn't some complex villain, but at least he's a worthy one, because he is an amazing skater. So amazing, in fact, that he's harder to beat than the Tony Hawk, the guy who this whole game is named after. So it does make sense why he gets under your skin, not just because he used to be your best friend, but he's also a very difficult giant to take down. I like that. But there's one more thing about these chapters that I appreciate. As I said earlier, this game could have ended back at Slam City Jam when you became pro. You completed all of your arcs, you had escaped poverty, and achieved fame and fortune. And if Neversoft felt that that would have been too shallow, all they had to do was create one extra cutscene that would have added some depth. My idea is this. Remember how Chad Muska inspired you in the beginning? Maybe at the end, they could put you in Chad Muska's position. You meet a young fan and pass down some wise words like he did with you. Everything has come full circle. But instead, Neversoft added all of that extra story, the Moscow level and all that craziness, just so you can experience the downside of that glossy lifestyle.
The kid's off the team!
Come back to the place where it all began and purify your passion. Even to the point where your character is deep in thought, reflecting as they stare at the river.
I'm guessing with everything that's been going on, most people have forgotten. Well, I guess I'll just have to remind everyone.
It's not Shakespeare, but considering the nature of the plot and the often nonsensical missions, that is surprisingly grounded and thought-provoking. A great note to end it all on. Neversoft yet again didn't pick the simple route and complicate it all, but in a good way. Respect. Tony Hawk's Underground got deep, man. The next part has you creating your own team and picking what pros you sign.
I want to do it right this time. Show the kids what skating's really about. We start our own team.
I like it.
I'll track down the best pros and sign them up.
Perfect, and all we need to do is find a great name for our team.
You then play as these pros and complete some freaking difficult missions, man. These missions are apparently being filmed so you can release an amazing skate video, but when you're done, you never actually see the video, you just see some real life footage of the pros you picked. Big letdown. But it's all good. With that video, you prove your worth and remind people of what skating is really about. But then, the final step appears in the form of the most punchable face in gaming history.
Tell it to your posse. We're through. I've got everything I need.
Not this. Remember, Hawaii, building jump, helicopter. Too bad no one ever saw it. What do you say? One last trip around the neighborhood. Winner takes the tape.
So you then skate around New Jersey following Eric's insane line. He somehow drops fire for you to trip up on, I don't know. And it's quite the challenge on the highest difficulty, as it should be. I really felt like a badass once I beat him.
You got lucky, you little punk! Slam City Jam in Tampa with nothing but lucky, little bitch! Get back here! You ain't nothing! I know I can kick your ass!
You get what has to be the most insane footage in skateboarding history, and that's the story over. Yes, I will talk about the secret ending in a bit, hold your horses. So, you unlock some pretty rad shit. You get to play as Gene Simmons from Kiss. His board is so dope, but his special tricks are even better. Like, lick it up. Like, wow, I want to see that in slow motion over the helicopter.
And a nice Chianti.
You can also play as Iron Man. This was back in 2003, before the big Marvel boom, so I had no idea who he was back then. He has this dope hoverboard and some neat specials like the scanner and the blaster. It's all fun stuff, and again, so full of character. But also, remember the Neversoft intro that plays before the main menu pops up? It shows this monster eating Eric Sparrow. Yeah, smash his head into the floor there, man. Ooh, look at that tooth. Sorry. Well, now you can play as that monster as well. It's just a shame you can't reenact this scene. There are also some extra pedestrian characters that you can unlock, like Eric Sparrow and Stacy Peralta, but in order to unlock them, you have to play it on the sickest difficulty and find every gap in the whole game. No thank you. Not worth it. Not at all. No. You also unlock the level Hotter Than Hell. It's a big music festival in the middle of an airplane graveyard. Seemingly no one has turned up to it yet, so there's plenty of space to skate around, and it's okay. There are some decent lines here and there, some dope views from above where you can pull off some fun stunts, and also this freak show in the corner here. No, stop that. No thank you. No. But what stands out the most about it are the Kiss letters. Collect them all and Kiss appear on stage and perform Kiss songs. I sadly can't play the music in this video, but it sounds great. All of this, man, it's just so dope. It's brimming with character. Their animations, the fire. Oh. Even more surprising is that there is a vehicle here that is, dare I say, fun? It's still clunky as hell, but at least you can do something with it. You can now go up these ramps and achieve some gaps. Flying a cart over the map whilst Kiss plays down below? Where else can you see that? Plus, the extra levels from Pro Skater 2 were just a blast to play. I'd take them over the recent Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 remake any day, simply because walking around makes it easier to navigate these levels. I don't care how good the remake looks, these levels just play better in this older game. So the story was finished, but my journey was anything but. I was so infected by this game that I restarted the campaign again like almost instantly, and this time I was plowing through all the missions because I was now a shit-hot Tony Hawk player. Then the secret ending came. Remember this part?
What do you say? One last trip around the neighborhood. Winner takes the tape.
And then you had to follow Eric's line and beat him? Well, that's not there anymore. Because this time...
One last trip around the neighborhood. Winner takes the tape.
Like, wow, man. This happens if you beat the game more than once, and it's so freaking dope. And did you see how you got the tape? I thought you just punched Eric, but no, you actually elbow him in the face as you grab the tape at the same time. Now that's some John Wick shit right there. That's some Ip Man shit. And seeing that smug turd just splattered all over his car like that. Oh, yes. But again, it still wasn't over for me because I just couldn't stop playing. Thanks to the improved physics and newer features, I finally caught up with the rest of the fan base and shared their feelings. I was no longer left out. I finally saw what they saw. Like them, I became addicted to the whole risk and reward nature of the gameplay, and pulling off fat combos and linking these tricks together gave me a buzz few other games could. It just clicked with me. I played it so much that I began noticing small little details that made big differences. For example, if you manual for long enough, you'll eventually lose momentum and get stuck on the spot. Well, what if that happens when you're in the middle of a big combo? How will you continue your line? Well, you could get off your board, run, and caveman back into the manual to get some momentum. But what if that countdown clock thingy is empty? Getting off your board will end your combo, so what do? Well, Underground added this new manual called the Spacewalk. It propels you forward slightly, so now you can get to the next part of your line. So jiggy. Another small detail was the new way you could stop grinding. Okay, it wasn't new because Pro Skater 4 actually invented this, but still I didn't play at the time, so whatever, I only finally noticed it here. Shut up. In Pro Skater 3, if you were grinding, there were only 3 ways you could stop. Reach the end of the line, ollie out of the grind, or bail. But in Underground, I discovered a new way. If you click R2 during the grind, or whatever button the console wants you to press, you just drop down from the rail. Not only is that nice that you have another option, but it also helps you drop down to the rails below. Take this clip for example. I'm in the middle of a big combo, I'm grinding on this overpass, and I want to drop down to those red rails below. I can't ollie out of the grind to get down there, I'll end up missing. So I click R2 and bam. Now I can continue my line in style. Why do this? For the same reason you do any trick, goddammit, it's freaking fun and stylish. And I know Pro Skater 4 was the one that invented this, but again, I didn't know this at the time, I didn't play that game. But also it's kind of special to me because there's nothing in this game that tells you can do that. I had no idea, I discovered it after months of digging around and experimenting with all of the tricks. It's a dope little feature, man. All of these small details go a long way. They truly show you that Neversoft went out of their way to eliminate as many limitations as possible. It's like, they thought of everything, dude. And honestly, I was so addicted to this game that sometimes single tricks would give me a buzz, just because of their animations. The main ones that spring to mind are the varial hill flips and varial kick flips. I'll just use the varial hill flip for this example. If you do a frontside 180 varial hill flip, it looks okay, like your body turns 180 degrees whilst your board flips beneath you. Cool. But if you do a backside 180 varial hill flip, it looks so much nicer, man. Like, it looks like you're doing a normal kick flip, except your body turns 180 degrees in the air. I don't care what you guys say, that looks nice, man. Yes, I'm looking too deep into it, but 20 years ago, this gave me a buzz, and it still does, man. I mean, look at that, look at that, look at that, ooh! Yes, the prior Tony Hawk games did this too, but this was my first time discovering it, so shh. And what about the Pogo manual? You know, it looks cool, but look at what happens when you ollie out of it. Did you see that? How the board just flipped all over the place like that? Like some ninja shit, man. Oh man, put that jazz in slow motion. Like, that board looks like what I'd imagine Bruce Lee's tongue used to look like when he was performing cunnilingus, you know what I mean? Like, shut up. Don't give a damn. And as I said before, this is the game that made me fall in love with real-life skateboarding, because the extra real-life footage that you unlock when you beat the game, I watched those clips over and over again and I was fascinated by it. 20 years on, I still can't skate, but I still love watching it, and it all stemmed from this game. And surprisingly, this game also made me a big fan of Bam Margera. You see, even though I had been watching Jackass on and off for years, I actually didn't notice that he was one of the Jackass crew. But one night, 12-year-old me was watching Jackass and it showed a quick clip of a guy stunting on a skateboard. The name Bam Margera appeared at the bottom of the screen, and I was like, wait, that's that shirtless guy from Underground. No wonder his special tricks were so wacky. Stupid grind and bath, and the Jackass. Duh. And that explains why he was so enamored with tanks.
Tanks. Oh, tank. Look at these tanks. Damn, look at these tanks. It's so good. We can't go skating right now. Look at these tanks. Damn.
Thank God it was Eric in the tank, because Bam would have blew us up.
Bam's gonna be so jealous when he finds out about this.
I then popped in my disc of Pro Skater 3, just so I could watch Bam Margera's professional video. And it's so funny. Most of the other Pro Skater videos just show them skating. But in Bam's case, sure, he skates a bit, but it also shows him fucking up a bin, pulling some weird faces. What is he doing there, man? Then I guess mooing at this guy's face, then bouncing around when talking, then crowd surfing, jumping into a pile of leaves, and then telling a story about how someone tried to punch him.
So he tries to punch me, but he ends up punching the camera, and it wasn't my camera, so I don't care.
It's like they really knew how marketable his wild nature was. Like, yeah, he can skate, but he's also crazy, so let's mainly focus on that. Bam Margera then became my favorite skater. Not because of his talent, oh no, just because I was as wild and wacky as him. That's it. And yes, I was very happy when he became one of the main stars of the next Tony Hawk game. But we'll get into that in another video. And I also remember this as well. I was lucky enough at 12 to have myself a brand new electric guitar for Christmas, and it was this little cheap Encore electric guitar for me to practice on. I noticed that Eric Koston's board said "Can I Live" on the top. And I don't know why, but I really liked that, so I ended up getting this black marker pen and I wrote on my guitar, "Can I Live." Again, I don't know why, I wasn't a big Eric Koston fan or something, but I just wrote it on there. And I remember my mother said, "No, you won't live if you do that to your guitar again." Stupid woman, it just wiped off instantly. Either way, if it's not clear to you guys yet, I just couldn't get this game out of my head. Now, I wasn't internet savvy, so I couldn't take advantage of the online mode. And as great as it was, I didn't enjoy creating parks. But there was one extra option that I more than took advantage of. The goal creator. Now, in this chapter, yes, I'm going to be talking in depth about how this goal creator works and all that, but I'll also be sharing some very personal stories about my upbringing and how this mode genuinely helped me discover myself and helped me during some pretty bleak times. You'll only find this part entertaining if you're interested in me as a person, or if you yourself know what it's like to grow up with this hunger to be creative. In other words, for most of you, the video's already over, so I thank you for watching, take care. But for the rest of you who are still interested in sticking with me, I'm going to be putting all of my jokes to one side because that's not suitable for this part. And also, just a quick trigger warning. Even though I won't get too graphic, I will be talking about my history with bullying and child abuse, along with a quick mention of the word that rhymes with bluicide. Just looking out for you guys, okay? Don't let me hurt you. So, in the goal creator, you create a series of missions for you or someone else to play. You pick any level, and then you get to place up to 10 quest givers anywhere on the map. You then pick what type of missions these quest givers give you, and a lot of them do what they say on the tin. You know, if you pick high score, you create a mission where you have to get a certain high score. Shocker. You then choose how high your score has to be in order to complete the mission. The same goes for a high combo, except you have to do that in one combo. If you pick skate letters, you choose where the skate letters go. You then have to collect them in order to complete the mission. If you pick combo letters, it's the same thing, except you have to get the letters in one combo. It's a cool way of creating lines. And so on and so forth. You can also change the rules of these goals, how long they last, where they start you off on the map, the name of the mission, the name of the quest giver, and you could even choose if the mission takes your skateboard away from you, or puts you in a vehicle, and no thank you. You can also give the quest giver some dialogue by writing in these little text boxes, and you can also choose what they say when you beat the goal. It was just a bit of fun. I mainly liked it because I was a creative little boy, and I had fun fucking around making these little missions in a game that I loved. Plus I could use the start marker to help me glitch to areas I couldn't normally get to, like this upper level in Manhattan. It's fun. An okay little creative mode. Nothing too deep, right? Well, incidentally, due to my personality type and circumstances, this mode genuinely helped me discover myself. To simplify it, I was mostly a problem child who was behind in every way. I sucked at school, I didn't do well with other kids, and I was a target for abuse due to becoming fat. But there was one gift I had. I had an extremely layered imagination that was inspired by the storytelling mechanics found in songs, video games, and mostly films. The problem is, I was a child, so where could I channel that creative energy? Nowhere. I was frustrated. However, certain video games with deep creator modes helped me finally scratch this creative itch when I was 11. Jurassic Park, Operation Genesis, and the console version of The Sims. One day I'll review those games somewhere down the road. I then turned 12 and Underground's Goal Creator added to the list as well, but there was one big problem. I had also recently started my first year of secondary school, or high school depending on where you're from. At that new school, all of my previous problems got worse, man. I was severely bullied, and after about 5 months, the bullies ended up breaking both of my wrists in 5 places each. So I quit school in hopes of avoiding future abuse, only to end up in a different trap. For various reasons, I was never homeschooled, and I lost most of my friends due to recently moving so far away from them. So this meant that I spent most of my teens, from age 12 to 17, being locked away. My growth was stunted, and I was in limbo. I only knew certain family members, and sadly, I was living with a family member who subjected me to years of extreme psychological and physical abuse. Don't get me wrong, this person obviously did provide for me. As you can tell from this video, I had a load of nice expensive gadgets and stuff, but none of those items can distract from the fact that this was a full-grown adult beating a little boy. This person hit me in the testicles, hit my wrists whilst they were still broken in their casts, hit me in the mouth with metal, making my gums bleed, and also convinced me on multiple occasions that certain family members were going to kill themselves in order to get away from me. And all of this is just small crumbs in this big giant cake. It wasn't fun. I'm not trying to be a victim, I wasn't dying or anything, but holy moly, it was unpleasant. I spent years growing up in fear, I was always sad, and I became an even more complicated puzzle. It didn't seem like I would one day become a functioning member of society. However, during this horrible period in my life, I did have some small things that helped me out. My creative mind, and the occasional visits from my good friend, Tyrone. This is Tyrone. He's been my friend since I was 7. He was with me through junior school and secondary school, but he couldn't defend me from the army of bullies because he wasn't a big tough guy. But he was always there for me. And after I quit school, he was one of the few friends I saw. As my wrists healed, he stayed over and played games and watched films with me. It was lovely, he really cheered me up. But Tyrone did have school, and I had recently moved far away from him, so seeing him was hard. I ended up spending long periods of time by myself. But at least what little time I spent with him was very healthy and helped my creativity grow. This is about to get really silly and childish, but please stick with me. This eventually leads to an outcome that's as productive as it is sentimental. 12-year-old me toyed around with Thug's Goal Creator mode, far more than most players back then. I made missions for Tyrone whenever he came over. I enjoyed making them, Tyrone enjoyed playing them. And it wasn't just a small series of missions for him to complete. My creative mind figured out a way of structuring these missions to simulate an actual story campaign. But how, right? In the Goal Creator, you can't make it so that beating one mission triggers another to spawn on the map. All of your quest givers are scattered across the map concurrently, ready to play at any time. So how could I remember the order to play them in, and how could Tyrone know? Simple. I'd place the first quest giver right by the level's spawning point. So whenever Tyrone loaded into a level, he knew that the first quest giver he could see activated the first mission. Tyrone loads into New Jersey and, it must be this guy. Once Tyrone beat that mission, I'd write dialogue in the winning text box along with the location of the next mission. Phil is at the train station. So Tyrone had to find the train station and look for someone called Phil. And once Tyrone finished all of the missions, the final text box would say something like, "On to Hawaii." So he knew that the next set of missions were in Hawaii. Nice. And that's how I'd structure the missions, by leaving a load of breadcrumbs for me and Tyrone to follow. And there was nothing in the game that told me to do that. I figured that out by myself. And of course, that's nothing to be proud of. But I am nostalgic remembering how my creative brain solved that problem in order to make a more comprehensible product. It's a skill every creative person requires, and this was my first time doing it. There were other problems I had to solve as well. I had to make concessions with the dialogue boxes. There's only one text box to give instructions, and one after you beat the mission. And considering that these boxes are freaking small, there wasn't much space for dialogue. I had to use text slang to make room. It was really like poor Tyrone was playing missions made by Ali G.
B8 to res, B8 to res, batteries.
I also had to use imagination to fill in some gaps. You can't edit the quest giver's appearance and they're always Mal. This meant that if I wanted Alyssa Steamer to be in my story, I'd have to name this quest giver Alyssa Steamer, and Tyrone and I would have to pretend that this was her. But the ones that really required imagination were the skate and combo letter missions. The main story mode had missions where you had to collect a variety of items: skateboards, board pieces, donuts. But the Goal Creator only gave you skate letters or combo letters to collect. So I had to pretend that these letters were something else to collect, like collect the hamsters. Each letter represented a hamster. You get it. I also used these letters to represent places you had to get to. For example, there's a McDonald's in the Manhattan level, so I'd create a mission where you had to deliver burgers to people. I'd place skate letters either by NPCs or they just represent imaginary people. Each time Tyrone collected a letter, in my campaign he had just delivered a burger to a customer. I also placed these letters in hard to reach places. I'm slightly proud of this one actually. I created a quest giver called the Ninja. I wrote his dialogue phonetically to make him sound like an Asian Mr. Miyagi stereotype.
Oh, ninja, jump high. Find a way of jumping high enough to reach high above the river.
I know, maybe a little insensitive, but for crying out loud, I was only 12. Plus, the world wasn't as sensitive back then, hence why the main campaign had racial stereotypes performed by obviously American voice actors.
Not so loud. I have a hangover.
My fusion of ancient Japanese cooking techniques and modern foods has won him over.
So, sue me. Either way, I placed the skate letters all the way up there above the river. Tyrone had to figure a way up there. And I remember he was stuck on this for a while, but then he figured out that he had to sketch the back of the cars, get speed, and launch up there. Like, that's some creative shit there, dude. Like, I created a brain teaser puzzle in this skateboarding game.
Now you are the ultimate high jumping ninja. Go to the drainage ditch.
And all of this wasn't as random as I'm making it sound. I actually did try to create an actual narrative rather than random missions. I really did care about this. And what proves that is that I actually attempted to create an antagonist to beat at the end of my campaign. I invented a Russian mob boss called Bronznik. 12-year-old me didn't know any Russian names, so I just invented one that sounded Russian. I don't know, Bronznik sounded Russian to me. However, I did some research recently and discovered that Bronznik is actually a name. It's not Russian though, but it does partly mean honesty. It's a great name for a Russian mob boss. Look, either way, I'll simplify this. Bronznik steals expensive skateboards from your team and flies back to Moscow. And because it's your fault, your team sends you to Moscow to get the boards back, like you're an action hero or something. Tyrone goes to Moscow, and the missions were just him trying to track down Bronznik. And it ends pretty badly. There's this bell tower up here, and if you grind the bells, you ring them. So I used this area for the final showdown. In my imagination, Bronznik is up here in the bell tower, so I placed the combo letters here. Tyrone grinds them and brackets. The bells knock Bronznik over the edge to his death. Well, I couldn't create a cutscene, could I? Again, me and Tyrone had to use our imaginations in order to have fun with this shit. But imagination is for pussies, so I George Lucas this shit. After 20 long years of waiting, the world can finally see Bronznik's death in top quality. No. Congratulations, Tyrone, you've just committed murder over some skateboards. And to cap it all off, eventually when I turned 13 and Thug 2 came out, I used its goal creator mode to create a sequel to a campaign I made in Thug 1. Again, that's some creative shit, dude. Like, I kind of created a sequel, isn't that weird? In a different game? I don't know. And that's what I spent a lot of my time doing, working on stuff like this. And with that, I want to quickly state that I'm completely aware of how tragic all of this sounds. Like, I was a lonely, fucked up little hermit who was hiding from the world and had so much to work on. But instead, I was just busy creating goals in Tony Hawk's Underground, making antagonists when it didn't even give me that option. That's not just tragic or embarrassing. That's really sad. So why do I reflect on all of these stories with joy? Because there is a wonderful flip side to this. Sure, my situation was tragic, especially when you factor in that Tyrone sometimes saw my abuse. I can specifically remember Tyrone completing my missions when he was sat down right next to me as I cried, because downstairs that family member had just held a frying pan up to my face ready to swing. Yes, fucking bad. But I was still growing as a creator, and then my mind moved on to something far more healthy. The goal creator made me want to become a game developer. But for my 13th birthday, I was extremely lucky to get this thing, an old camcorder from 2004. One day I'll talk more about my journey with this thing, but for now I'll make it quick and simple. I decided that I wanted to make my own films, so I practiced on this little thing. All I had learned from Thug's goal creator mode transferred to this thing, solving problems and making concessions and shit. On the increasingly rare occasions when Tyrone would stay over, we would work on this thing and make little short films. Sadly, I don't have access to any of them. They're either deleted or they're just far away. But I do have footage of this little short film I made with a film class I joined for a month. This was a blast, man. I wish I had the option to continue working with them more back then. My creativity was just getting stronger and stronger. However, eventually Tyrone stopped coming over. He had moved on with his busy new teenage life. But it's okay because I was doing the same thing. I became a musician at 15, and my filmmaking goals took a 13-year hiatus. And also, Guitar Hero was one of the many things that inspired me to pick up a guitar in the first place, so yet again, a video game helped me. I made it to college and spent the rest of my teens studying music. I met some wonderful friends who taught me how to become an extrovert, and life got so much better for me. Creativity helped that happen. It opened up the doors for me. I then went to one of the best music universities in the whole of England and spent the rest of my 20s making electronic music combined with live instruments. I ended up composing multiple EPs and albums, and they're still being mixed and mastered right now, but they should be out in a year or so. If you're watching this video a few years after it's come out, look on my YouTube channel and look for a playlist, something to do with music. You'll find links to all my music on there. It should all be free. Now, during the last few years of making those EPs and albums, I had learned to truly hate making music. The truth is, I'm just way more passionate about film than music. So in 2020, I retired from music. I had finished everything. I was done with it. And ever since then, I've fully committed to film. I'm writing screenplays, and I've had some great success with my voice work, man. Group 302-1, messenger from the 301st Krieg Regiment. Fantastic work. Formosus will clatter with delight when I give him my report. I've also started this YouTube channel which is all about reviewing movies and video games. In other words, studying them to help develop my own writing skills, and I'll be going to film school soon. I'm back to studying films like I used to. And my point in telling you all of this is to state what I feel is obvious. I'm a bit of an idiot savant. I know I'm not stupid, but ever since I was a child, it's been clear. I'm not good at all that much in life. But the few things I am good at, I kind of excel at them. I'm fantastic at being creative and creating a product of entertainment. It's all I've been doing ever since I was a child. It's all I've ever been good at. This is me. And I know it sounds so mawkish, but I promise you I mean this with all sincerity. Tony Hawk's Underground and its Gold Crater genuinely helped me discover that about myself. I know it wasn't that deep of a creator mode, okay? Believe me, if we had Dreams or Super Mario Maker back then, I'd be making a completely different video here today. But simply due to my unique circumstances and personality type, genuinely, it helped me discover myself back in the day. I'm not being melodramatic and saying, it saved me. No, I'm just saying it helped reinforce certain suspicions I had of myself back then. I now know what I'm for, and it aided in that journey. I look back and I'm like, no wonder I played Operation Genesis and The Sims way too much. No wonder I tried to create this antagonist called Brunznik. I was learning the basics of creating entertainment for an audience. Tyrone. Then it moved on to this thing, to make short films, to show an audience. Then it went on to songs, to play to an audience. Now I'm here making videos for you guys, the audience, and hopefully it will go on to something much bigger one day. All these decades later, I'm still here, working and looking at screens, creating products of entertainment for other people. Except now, I've reached a stage in my life where it's healthy, it's fulfilling, I get respect, and in some cases, I get paid for it. This is what I'm for, and that's why I reflect on Tony Hawk's Underground and its Gold Crater with so much joy. And to cap it all off, me and my good friend Tyrone eventually got back in touch, and we're still good friends to this day. I eventually came out to him and told him how much he meant to me back in the day, how he kept visiting me, cheering me up, and making short films with me and stuff. I thanked him for all he did back in the day. And the sweetest part? If you guys have been watching my videos for long enough, you would have noticed these cartoon avatars. I used them in pretty much all of my videos instead of actually filming myself like I am now. Well, Tyrone is the one who actually drew them for me.
We've come full circle. 20 years later, he's still here helping me make products of entertainment. Oh man.
Damn, what a weird little nerdy journey I've had. So, in the end, Tony Hawk's Underground is simply one of the best games I've ever played. Yes, some of the story elements were nonsensical, the wild nature of the gameplay sometimes contradicted the serious tones of the plot, and the vehicles were freaking awful. But compared to the genius of the rest of the game, who cares? It was innovative, it was welcoming for both newcomers and returning fans, the simple ability to walk was intuitive, and the story mode pumped new life into the franchise. It successfully adapted the street skater's mindset, which is how I got into skateboarding and street skating as a whole in the first place. Most of the levels were great, but some of them were iconic, and what made playing them so much more fun is that the trick system is honestly kind of perfect. It might not translate the actual mechanics of skateboarding to the control pad, but that was never the point of these games. Neversoft went for the arcadey, over-the-top route and accomplished exactly what they were going for. Like how Neversoft separated these tricks across a gamepad this perfectly makes no sense to me. It really shouldn't feel as good as it does all this time later. It's incredible. So incredible, in fact, that the following Tony Hawk games really did struggle to add anything new to it. Apart from Nail the Trick or stalling, almost every new feature they added in the subsequent games would soon get removed in the next Tony Hawk game, because it was that hard to add anything to this trick system. The trick system was so outstanding that 20 years on, the control scheme still hasn't left my muscle memory, because the controls are just perfect. One of the most masterfully constructed gameplay mechanics I have ever experienced. And as if I couldn't love this game enough for those reasons, it also had an impressive amount of creator modes, and one of them in particular helped me discover and nurture my creative side. As the back of the case said, it's your game, and I made it my game. And also, the soundtrack was obviously gold. My favorites are Armageddon by Alkaline Trio, She Said by Angry Amputees, and this really weird song by Rubber City Rebels called I Wanna Pierce My Brain. It's far more uplifting than it should be. Give it a listen, it's badass. Tony Hawk's Underground has since become a part of my life, to such an extent that I reflect on every part of it with joy. When I got Pro Skater 3 for my 11th birthday and got frustrated with it, to watching the advert for Tony Hawk's Underground and getting juiced, to finally picking up this case for the first time in that game shop and then having to put it back down. And all of the other little stories I've told you about, like falling in love with Bam Margera's personality, or Eric Koston's board and how it inspired me to write on my guitar. All of it. Ever since then, it's just become a big part of my life. In fact, every time I look at this case and I see the blue with the grey, all of it, damn, I just get this big warm feeling in my heart. Tragic, but it's true. Now, is Tony Hawk's Underground the best Tony Hawk game? I don't know. You guys have to decide that for yourselves. For me, it's a contest between Underground 1 or 2. Sure, Underground 2 isn't as much about skateboarding as Underground 1, and Underground 1 definitely did innovate a lot more as far as I'm concerned, but I don't know, Underground 2 has aged a lot better in my opinion, but I don't know, I'll probably come to that conclusion when I review Tony Hawk's Underground 2 next year when it turns 20. So yeah, I'm not too sure right now if Underground 1 is the best Tony Hawk game. But if I'm being honest with you, I don't even know if it's my favorite skateboarding game. You see, as incredibly fulfilling as this masterpiece is, it did leave me wanting more in one little area. Now, have you ever noticed in most action games that the gameplay is always far more unrealistic than the cutscenes? Like how in most action games, if your character gets shot a lot during gameplay, they're fine, but during cutscenes, they just can't take the bullets? Well, Tony Hawk's Underground's version of doing that is to have cutscenes with grounded realistic skating, but during gameplay, you can moonwalk whilst grinding, manual whilst sitting on a boombox, or just vomiting whilst grinding. Well, as fun as all of that was, it still made me want to play something that simulated skating in real life, something a bit more grounded and slower, not something so crazy and over the top. Well, eventually I got that when I played Skate 2. I'll admit, Tony Hawk's Underground does what it's trying to do better than what Skate 2 was trying to do, but I don't know, there's something about the nature of that game that just blew me away, plus the big-ass map. It's huge. Even 14 years later, that map is absolutely massive. Game impressed the hell out of me, I adore it, so it's kind of a contest between that one and this. So that was my long-ass review of Tony Hawk's Underground. I hope you guys enjoyed, because I have worked months and months and months on this, just to give you guys the best video that I can. I hope you guys don't feel I droned on too long, but I don't know, it's a big part of my life. I couldn't just do a small video on it. But never again. Never again. So I love you, but you really pissed me off the past few months. Obviously, there's no question about it. I'm gonna give Tony Hawk's Underground a 10 out of 10. I also need to quickly thank my good friend, Liam. You see, adding to the struggle of this video is that I don't know how to capture gameplay footage from an actual console. I had to use an emulator. And when it comes to tech stuff like that, I'm seriously stupid, so I had to get Liam to sort it all out for me. This entire video wouldn't exist if it wasn't for him, so thank you, Liam. You made this whole thing possible. You're the best. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay jiggy. The better appreciates ya. Candy.